So this is going to be a video on raising Panda and Aeneus Cories. So let's start off by looking at collecting the eggs. So the green Cories, or the Aeneus Cories, lay their eggs on the glass. And to collect them, I gently roll them off the glass with my finger. You want to wait a couple hours after they've been laid so that the eggs can harden up a bit for you to handle them. Once they've been collected, I place them in a catch cup with some aeration, and they'll hatch about 3 or 5 days later. Right after they hatch, the fry have a yolk sac, so they don't need to eat for about 2 days. At that point, I'll introduce some finely powdered food like golden pearls, and then they'll graduate on to microworms and baby brine shrimp. So at this stage, they're comfortably on baby brine shrimp, and they'll get fed twice a day, and I pour out most of the water in the catch cup and change it with clean aquarium water. So at 17 days since hatching, I release them into their next aquarium, which is a 2.5 gallon tank. So in there is a sponge filter, some Java moss, a leaf, and a layer of sand. The sand is important to keep their barbels clean and to develop properly. Cories have a strong instinct to root around in the sand, and some fine, soft sand is important for that. So at this stage, they've started doing the glass surfing behavior that we all know with Corydoras. So this is 24 days since they've hatched, and at this point, they definitely look like little Cories. They're eating some brine shrimp here. So to care for these guys, I do a 70% water change in the morning every day. Um, so that involves draining 70% of the water, filling it back up most of the way with tank water from another established aquarium. And then I top off about the last 10% with fresh dechlorinated tap water. Then they get fed, and then they'll get fed again at around 5 p.m. So I feed these guys mostly with baby brine shrimp at this age. At about 3 or 4 weeks, I started to introduce some dry food, any kind of dry pellet or flake crushed up and added to the bottom of the aquarium will work well. So here's the Cories also, again, eating some baby brine shrimp. You might have also noticed that there are some other fish in the aquarium. These are some white cloud fry that are about the same age as the Cories. I added them in to help eat some of the excess brine shrimp that swims up into the water column. I also wanted to mention that the temperature of this tank is just at room temperature, and that seems to be fine for the Cory fries, and they maintain a good level of growth. For me, room temperature was about 72 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit since it's summertime here. You can also see a few different looking Cories in this clip, and those are the panda Cories. They're starting to show their black markings on the eye and tail, which is really cool to see. The panda Cories grow a bit slower. They're about 3/4 the size of the green Cories at this stage. So here's a tip on harvesting the brine shrimp to feed Corydoras fry. So the brine shrimp towards the bottom of the container that you use to collect your brine shrimp will tend to be the ones that are younger and aren't developed enough to swim into the water column. So if you pipette those ones out at the bottom and then add them to the Cory raising tank, those tend to stick towards the bottom and the Cory fry have an easier time of eating them. I'll also usually just add some of the brine shrimp towards the top of the water so that the white cloud fry can eat some as well. And the Cories tend to grow very rapidly on a couple feedings of brine shrimp a day. So that's very cool to see day to day. They'll grow quite a bit. Once the brine shrimp is added, the Cory fry come out of their hiding spots and start chowing down. And as a live food, the brine shrimp triggers that feeding instinct in the Cories and just helps them eat a lot better and eat more. And this helps them grow. This is a little close-up shot of the Cory fry. As you can see, their bellies are getting filled up with the brine shrimp. It's kind of a by feel, by experience thing. You get an idea of how much brine shrimp to add into the aquarium to fill up their bellies. And there's a little bit of wiggle room there, a little bit more or less between days isn't going to hurt, as long as they're consistently getting fed. can see some of the white clouds are developing some nice colors and some size at this point. So at this stage, I was ready to move them on into a 10-gallon aquarium. Need a little bit more room as they were putting on some size pretty quickly. So we're at about 38 days here since hatching, and there's them being released into their new 10-gallon aquarium. I did a couple of test cories initially, just a couple of them that were larger, and added them into the 10-gallon tank a few days earlier to this clip. And that was just to see if they would have any troubles with the increased depth of water. For the Aeneas cories, they don't have, or the pandas for that, they don't have any trouble adjusting to deeper water. So you can just add them straight into a deeper tank without any worry about swim bladder issues. Some other fish, like CPDs, seem to be very sensitive to being introduced into a deeper tank, but it wasn't an issue with either the cories or the white clouds. I don't know if this applies to all cories, but these Aeneas cories are pretty hardy and they didn't mind being moved. So they adjusted pretty well to that 10-gallon aquarium. There's also a layer of that fine sand. I just used play sand, rinsed pretty well. So this is 46 days after hatching, about a month and a half, and they've put on some great size and they're looking really good. At this point, they eat dry food very eagerly as well. In this clip here, they're eating brine shrimp very enthusiastically, and shouldn't be any trouble to raise them on from this stage. Thank you for watching. I look forward to hearing from you if you have any comments or questions.